How many genders are there? Tough one.
Senator, there are two genders.
I know that well. I'm a she-he, so I'm on board. How many push-ups can you do?
I did 5 sets of 47 this morning.
That was a Senate confirmation hearing for the prospective Secretary of Defense, a man facing all sorts of accusations and allegations of incompetence. The Montana Republican Senator Tim Sheehy was asking Pete Hegseth vitally important questions like how many genders there are and how many push-ups can you do. Hegseth said he did a total of 235 push-ups yesterday morning. We know that he loves being seen doing push-ups, I will say, as you can see in the 2018 on-air contest with the Fox News colleague. Clearly, he's a guy who spends some time in the gym. But of course, Hegseth also specifically told the Senate he did sets of 47 push-ups. And I'll be honest, I was like, that's a weird number for a set. But presumably, right, as a tribute to Donald Trump, who is about to become the 47th president, Hegseth is doing 47 push-ups in the quiet of his hotel room. That's par for the course, I got to say, with this downright weird version of masculinity that MAGA and its boosters are pushing on Americans. You can see it in what people have been calling the vibe shift, right? This odd, to me, off-putting thing happening where cultural figures and business titans are embracing Trump out of all proportion to his 1.5% victory margin, one of the narrowest wins in American electoral history. A huge part of this has been this pathological expression of gender frustration by all kinds of men who seem to think that the real way to be a man is to insult people and endlessly whine about DEI and the unfairness of the world to rich dudes. Of course, at the center of it all, right, the one it begins with is the man himself, Donald Trump, who is fundamentally, more almost than he is anything else, a crybaby. He's a crybaby, endlessly complaining in ever more dramatic language about how much of a victim he is. Trump and his campaign expressly courted the bro vote, if you will, in November. They gave speaking slots at the Republican National Convention to men like Hulk Hogan, UFC owner Dana White, who both embody a kind of cartoonish vision of masculinity that's particularly appealing to adolescent boys. That's where a lot of them make their money. White, who was once caught on tape slapping his wife after she slapped him, has also become fast friends with Facebook billionaire Mark Zuckerberg. Just last week, Zuckerberg put White on the board of directors of Meta, Facebook's parent company. That was the same time that Zuckerberg announced Meta was ending its fact-checking and moderation, in part, he said, because it was offending the fragile sensibilities of men.
I do think a lot of our society has become very, I don't even know the right word for it, but it's kind of like neutered or emasculated. I do think the corporate culture sort of had swung towards being this somewhat more neutered thing. And I didn't really feel that until I got involved in martial arts, which I think is still a much more masculine culture. I think having a culture that celebrates the aggression a bit more has its own merits that are really positive.
I mean, look, martial arts, jiu-jitsu in particular, are great. But all that other stuff that's your stuff, bro. According to reporting by the New York Times, Zuckerberg also met late last year with Trump aide Stephen Miller and signals with the Trump team that he would do nothing to obstruct the Trump agenda of fighting DEI, according to three people with knowledge of the meeting. And get this, Zuckerberg blamed his former chief operating officer, Sheryl Sandberg, for an inclusivity initiative at Facebook that encouraged employees' self-expression in the workplace. I mean, I have to say, at one level, right, it actually is a perfect example of masculine energy to not own your own decision and instead blame them on a woman who is your subordinate. A lot of men do that a lot. But it's a kind of masculine energy, if you want to call it that, that's pretty damn pathetic. Which is the other weird thing about all these manly men and how they are performing masculinely. Not only does it involve a ton of whining, I mean, a real, constant whining and blame shifting, it also involves abject levels of, dare I say, emasculating subservience. All these manly men so eager to submit to the awesome will of Donald Trump, while simultaneously bragging about their superhuman feats, whether it's all the push-ups you can allegedly do in Hegseth's case or claiming you are one of the best video gamers in the universe, as Elon Musk has recently done.
So are you in the top 20 in the world or top 20? Wow, in Diablo. Yeah.
Do you want to tell everybody your handle? No, don't tell them. Don't tell them. It's not worth it.
It's a bold claim, which Musk has made again recently with another game. And hardcore gamers quickly took him apart after watching a live stream of Musk playing that game, in which he committed tons of mistakes that no top-flight gamer would make. Many suggested Musk had hired a ringer to play the games for him or cheated in some other way. Now, Musk's response to the barrage of criticism was to, well, throw a tantrum, to post criticism of one of these gamers who roasted him, take away that gamer's blue check verification on X, a social media site Musk owns. Remember when Musk bought Twitter and said it was totally unfair how they were using blue checks to separate users into lords and peasants? Now the tech titan who complains about the woke mind virus, said his trans daughter is dead to him, is showing just how thin-skinned he really is. I mean, we right now are under the thumb of just desperately thin-skinned, thirsty weirdos who are convinced, as New York Times columnist Jamel Bowie put it, that masculine energy means license to act like a chud in public, as opposed to more traditional notions of public masculinity, such as those that put a premium on the performance of integrity, honesty, honor, and generosity. I read that today, and I was thinking about my grandfather, who is a lifelong conservative Republican, stridently anti-communist, very religious Catholic man, very anti-abortion. And I loved him. I loved my grandfather. And my God, he and I had very different politics and worldviews, certainly around gender, though we never really talked about it. But I will say this for my grandfather, the bear, as we called him. There were two character traits he had that I really admired, among many, but two I really admired. He was his own man through and through. My grandfather did not bow, and he did not scrape. And he didn't whine. That's the other thing. He did not whine, and he had no tolerance for those who did. If all these psychologically damaged, very powerful men are going to fetishize some throwback conception of manhood, maybe start with that. Be your own man. Don't debase yourself by bending the knee.